Okay, so now we're in the logical operators section. Again, I've been giving a lot of information to you. We're bombarding you with a lot of information because this class moves fast. But that's why I'm going over the curriculum the way I'm going over it, because I want to bring out things that you may gloss over. So I want to help you to avoid being so frustrated. I can't help you getting frustrated because it's going to happen, but that's normal. I just want to reinforce that. Also too, if you're just arriving to this channel and you just found this video, the curriculum is in the actual description. You can follow along with us. It's free. You don't have to register to get it. So take advantage of it. It's a great resource. But now, before we go into the logical operators, let me kind of ask you a few questions and see if you can recall some of this information. Ask yourself, or answer this: what's an expression? Tell me, what is a variable? What is a data type? Remember, I said everything in JavaScript is an object except for. Also too, I want to understand what is booleans. How many primitive data types are there? What does mutable mean? What does immutable mean? We're recapping because I want to keep drilling you on these things, because as we go further, we don't want that information to get pushed out. As your mind begins to take in new information, we don't want to lose the old information. We want to make sure it's become a part of us, okay? So that when I ask those questions on like this: how do you declare a variable? How do you declare a variable and initialize a variable? Know the difference, okay? Let's get into the textbook. Logical operators. Recall that an operator is one or more characters that carries out an action on an operand. Remember what an operand is? What it says: the operator is one or more characters. Remember that. In the data variables, we learned about three types of operators: the arithmetic operators, such as plus, minus, multiplication, and division, and modulus; the string operator, which is the plus sign; the compound assignment operators, such as plus equal or minus equal. You got to remember these words, understand these terminologies, because it will come back later. We will drill you on it. So what is a compound assignment operator? What is a string operator? Take some time to go back and review. Arithmetic and string operators take number and string operands, respectively. Returning values of the same type compound assignment operators work similarly with numbers or strings, while also reassigning the value of the first variable operand. Booleans operators. In addition to these operators, we learned about comparison operators like strictly equal, less than, and others. These operators are part of a larger class known as Boolean operators, so called because they return a Boolean value, true or false. Three additional Boolean operators allow us to create more complex expressions. These are described below. The logical AND. A compound Boolean expression is a Boolean expression built out of smaller Boolean expressions. JavaScript allows us to create a compound Boolean expression using the logical AND operator, which are these two symbols, the two ampersands. The operator takes two operands. Remember what an operand is: two different values. And the resulting expressions is true if both operands are true. Individually, If either operand is false, the overall expression is false. This is something that really confuses people. It may confuse you now, but this is one of those things you got to keep going over and over again till it makes sense. In English, the double operand or the double and operand mirrors the use of the words and, hence the name logical and. We know what and means. A sentence like roses are red and violets are blue is true as a whole precisely because roses are actually red and violets are actually blue. On the other hand, the sentence roses are red and violets are green is false as a whole. While roses are indeed red, violets are not green. Understand what we're saying here. When we're comparing something, we're saying that if you use this two and or ampersands, which means and, it means that both of them have to be true. If A is the number 5 and B is the number 5, then we know that if that's true, if A is actually 5 and B is actually 5, then they're both true, then guess what? It's going to execute that block of code. But if we're saying that A is 5, but then we change it and say that A is now 7 and B is now 5, well, we know that A is actually 5, so we know that's false. So it makes the whole thing false, and that block of code won't be executed. We'll give you examples later. But here, this is one example is the console.log. 7 is greater than 5. Well, we know that's true. And 5 is greater than 3. That's true. That's why that's true. 7 is greater than 5. That's true. 2 is greater than 3. That's false. They both have to be true. So that's why we get false. 2 is greater than 3 and dog is equal to cat. That's false. Although they're the same data type, but they're two different things, two different values, because when it goes through the what we call the binary code, D has a binary code, O and G have a binary code, cat has a binary code, and what it's doing is strictly comparing those codes to each other, although that they're both data types are strings. So that's why it's false. In lines 7 is greater than 5 and 5 is less than 3 evaluates to true because both 7 greater than 5 and 5 greater than 3 are true individually. Line 3 returns false because both sub-expressions are false. Notice that we can mix and match data types. However, as long as both sides of the and expressions are themselves Boolean expressions. Now, when we get down to the logical OR, this is something different. JavaScript logical OR operator, which are the two pipes, also creates a compound Boolean expression. Know what that means. Remember that. Understand it. A compound Boolean expression, 2 or more. Remember, a compound is 2 or more operands, right? This operator takes 2 operands and the resulting expression is true. If either of the operands are true individually now, if both operands are false, the overall expression is false. Let's look at this. As with logical and, logical OR mirrors our experience of English language truth values. The sentence, pigs can fly or dogs can run, is true as a whole, joining the two clauses by OR. requires that only one of them is true in order for the full sentence to be true. So in or with and, both have to be true. So just like when we're in a daily conversation, when we use the word and, you and your brother, when you're as a parent, when you're talking to your children, you and your brother better have my house clean, or y'all gonna get a whooping, right? The results is you're gonna get a whooping, right? I know some of y'all don't probably spank your kids, and I don't spank mine either, no more anyway. Not my younger kids, because I have 6. But that's how it was when I was growing up. When we was growing up, we better had the house clean, and we were all responsible, or we all were going to be in trouble. Now, and means we were all responsible. Now, if my mother would have said to one of us, like I was the oldest, Terrence, if you don't have this house clean, it don't make a difference what my brother and sister did. I was responsible for it. So as long as the house was clean, it didn't matter who cleaned it. But if it didn't get clean, we were all still in trouble. But I was going to get the most of it, right? The oldest always got the brunt of it. But understand that's how or works. When both of the clauses joined by or are false, the whole statement is false. So let's look at this. 7 is greater than 5, or 5 is greater than 3. So right there, we know that's true. 7 greater than 5, or 2 is greater than 3. Even though 2 is not greater than 3, just because 7 is greater than 5 is still true because of the or. And the same way here, is 3 greater than 2 greater than 3? No. Is dog triple equal to cat? No. So now that's false. There's a use case for these, so we'll go over that later. Now, the single symbols right here, and in or, themselves valid JavaScript operators, so accidentally leaving off one symbol when type of double and double pipes will not result in an error message. The operators single and single pipe are bitwise operators, which are beyond the scope of this course. Most programmers rarely use single and or, which I have to admit I've never ran across this since I've worked on enterprise applications. This is probably going into some deep algorithms, some stuff that I don't even know. And it is not important for you to understand them at this point. However, you should never use them in place of double and double pipes, which is ORs, okay? Logical not. The logical not operator, which is the exclamation point, takes only a single operand and reverse, that's why I was saying reverse its Boolean value. So if not true, this is technically false. Not false is technically true. You got to practice this to understand that, because it can confuse you. The operator not, sometimes called a bang, some is a bang or shebang, for the same semantic roles as the word not in English. So now look at the syntax here. This is legal. If our console.log is 5 greater than 7, yeah, it's true. But if I put, and notice I have it in parentheses, if I put that not in front of it, it's going, well, it's false. It's going to make it true. It's going to reverse it. Just like dog and cat, it reversed it. Inside of here, this is false. This is false. But when I put that not, it reverses it to true. Now, operators precedence. We now have a number of operators in our toolkit. It is important to understand how these operators relate to each other with respect to the operator precedence. Operator precedence is the set of rules that dictate in which order the operators are applied. JavaScript will always apply the logical not operator, the exclamation point, first. So remember PEMDAS? Well, this is the order of operations for operators. Next, it applies the arithmetic operators, followed by the comparison operators, the logical and and or are applied last. This means that the expression x times 5 greater than equal to 10 and y minus 6 less than equal to 20 will be evaluated as the first is perform arithmetic and then checks the relationship. The and evaluation will be done last. So right here, these two right here, after they are already been calculated, will be compared last. The order of evaluation is the same as if we were to use parentheses to group as follow. So remember, grouping them with parentheses sets the precedence as well, or the order. While the parentheses are not always necessary due to default operator precedence, they make expressions much more readable. As a best practice, we encourage you to use them, especially for more complicated expressions. So make sure you practice and play around with this. Get an understanding of this code. The following table lists operators in order of precedence from highest applied first to lowest applied last. A complete table for the entire language can be found here at this link. I highly recommend you click it and look at it and bookmark it. Here's the precedence, the category, and the operators. Now we talked about the truth table. Truth tables help us understand how logical operators work by calculating all of the possible return values of a Boolean expression. Let's look at the truth table for AND, which assumes we have two Boolean expressions, A and B, joined by AND. So A is true, B is true, so A and B will be true. True and false. A and B mean they will be false because one is false. False, true, false, 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 false. Now consider the first row of the truth table. This row states that if A is true and B is true, then A and B is true. This is a fact. Regardless of what Boolean expression A and B might actually be, the two middle rows demonstrate that if either A or B is false, then A and B is false. If this ideal is hard to grasp by substituting actual expressions for A and B. So check your understanding. So when you go back and you really want to get an understanding for this, this is how we use A and B, like X plus Y. So here you can say, is Tom equal to Tom, or 5 equal to 5, or if 5 is true. Just understand that they both have to be true. And so using like 5 less than 3, we gave you those examples, and then you're using the logical operator to compare the two. We use this a lot to do checks when we're using conditionals, especially in React. We'll break that down later on, but we want to get a good fundamental understanding and understanding the rules and principles so that when we give you more complex things to solve, you won't get so frustrated. You'll be able to think through the whole process. Okay, we made it to the end of this section. And again, the more you do, the more you improve. See you in the next section.